Hey there again, Skatie Justice here, and I just wanted to provide an update, and I think I'm going to use this for two different purposes. I've been trying to keep a ongoing sort of video journal for my own personal records, but I don't do that very often or often enough. And so I think I'm going to let this double for that. So this might be a little bit longer than a normal GoFundMe update. The GoFundMe is doing a little starts and fits sort of movement right now. So if you have the opportunity to share, please do so. I think one of the other factors that's causing sort of not continued growth, I am having to be conscientious about where I share, right? The kind of most important circles for me to share in are my own. And I'm not out in every circle. So while I'm getting Skatie Justice out there, my personal information, if I come out to, say, my various seminary classes, alumni pages or groups or directories, it's my personal name coming out. And so I need to trust everybody in that group and that class. That's not necessarily the whole school if I'm coming out to just my class. And so there are people in each of those groups that I'm having to reach out to ahead of time because I don't want them to find out in a general posting. I want them to hear it from me. And so I'm having a mixed experience of responses as I reach out to people. And I'm super touched and like crying tears of joy because like this is what life is supposed to be like when you are vulnerable and you share something very risky and they respond with love and support that is explicitly named as unconditional, but very much embodies that. It's such a relief. And like the quintessential thing of life is that we all want to be loved and belong and have our people that stand with us. And I'm having so many of those positive experiences. That in a way, I just want to say that I'm lucky, and that is true. And I think that it's a factor of how I have lived my life and the kind of people that I have surrounded myself with. And so it makes me feel good about me also. And even some of the best people, kindest, literally some of the very kindest people I know are much more conservative theologically and are doing their very, very best to be as supportive as they know how to be. Yeah. So I had a friend from college. I notified a couple of friends that were roommates. They were roommates together. And one of them responded, "Hello," using my personal new name, not Skatie Justice, my personal name. Skatie is a public identity that I'm using to protect my personal information. And the other person responded fairly briefly, but in 2 or 3 sentences, but included, an affirmation about all the memories that we have together. Nothing about your changing your name is going to change those memories. And I will be praying for you because I've seen this a lot, something like that. And it's not easy, she said. And I gotta say, the way that people mean the sentiment behind I'm praying for you is very genuine and kind, right? If you are somebody who believes in prayer and asking God to intervene and do good things, then asking God to do that for somebody that they care about, or strangers or enemies, like that is a very kind thing to do, is to pray for them. Regardless of what you believe about prayer, on the receiving end of that, to a lot of people, it feels like or can be heard as there's something wrong with you, and I'm praying that that thing will change or be fixed in you, right? That there's something that needs prayer, and it sort of sounds like an insult. So my suggestion is like to maybe play it safe and not be misinterpreted, or say enough that I'm praying for you doesn't get misinterpreted. Like I said, I know my people, and so they may be counting on that as well, that I know how to receive that from them. It's still a little bit of a challenge for me because of that misinterpretive potential, and that it's like a mantra that moderate and liberal people just hear conservative people as praying. Like that's all that they do for problems is pray. When prayer is good and helpful and additive, but on its own isn't all that we can do, right? We need to use our hands and feet and words to actively manifest love, care, affection, compassion, empathy, etc. So it's been really nice to receive the like unconditional love and support from people. And I think that people have learned enough. Coming out is not an unusual thing anymore, right? People have been coming out as gay or bisexual for decades and decades and decades. I mean, throughout all history, right? But kind of increasingly in American culture and society. And I think that Americans, generally speaking, seem to have learned to some degree, certainly in the circles that I'm running in, to try and be affirming in the first moment, which is good, right? You may have a lot to process as time goes forward, but not saying something hurtful in that first moment matters a lot. And so people are doing a really great job, and I'm touched as a human to have these positive experiences. So, other piece, similarly to do with Kroger. So, underneath this more feminine jacket, I'm cold this morning. I look like I need to take a shower because I'm trying to figure out how to keep my hair back. And so I didn't dry after I put some gel in it, and now it just looks greasy, but I'm trying to figure it out because I work this afternoon. Today is Memorial Day, and I'm working at a grocery store. So I have an 8-hour shift that starts at 1 p.m. I bring that up just because I'm trying to dress and present as male for work. I'm going by Skatie, and so people are getting mixed cues, mixed gender signals from me, and they don't know what pronouns to use, but everybody's not super comfortable asking. But the people are absolutely being amazing. And it seems like a very diverse staff in many ways. So I'm thinking of one of the managers on what we call the front end of the store is the checkout area, is the front end. She came over to help me with a complicated transaction, and then somebody came over to needed her for another thing. And so in their conversation, she's saying to the other person, I'll be right there to help you. I just need to finish helping her. She referred to me as her, and then she fixed it. She said, when I'm done helping him, and she corrected again, said them, because she didn't realize she doesn't know what pronouns to use, and she hadn't had the opportunity to ask me yet. But she clearly was confused about what pronouns I might prefer and hadn't asked me yet. And so I had just overheard it, and I was pleased because she chose feminine pronouns first, which was really nice. Even though I was trying to present as male, I clearly was and am failing to a degree. And that was good for me, but it wasn't fun for her, obviously. And so when I had a moment between transactions, I went over and checked in with her, and I said, hey, FYI, I heard you trying to figure out my pronouns. Sorry about that. I just want you to know any pronouns are fine, which is what I had decided I was going to do, and just let people use whatever pronouns they're comfortable with. And that would give me the opportunity to sort of gradually change my presentation, perhaps to female, and I could see what that was like and make whatever observations might be insightful to me. However, she was like, oh, cool, thanks. And then she came by. I think she said in that moment, even that I had wanted to ask you, I just hadn't had an opportunity to yet. So then she did come by a few minutes later and say, "Hey, I know you said any pronouns are fine, but do you have a preference? Is there something that you would prefer?" And that's when it got especially awkward because I do obviously have a preference, but I had decided that I was telling them any pronouns. So that I'm trying to sort of like navigate. Well, the bottom line is, it is the lesson for me, I think, is that people, they don't want the ambiguity, especially people that are trying to be supportive and helpful and all of the good things. It may not be a very nice thing for me to not tell them what my preference is, especially when I do know my preference. Like, it's one thing if can genuinely just say I'm figuring it out, which is true in that space. So I feel like I may again need to revise how I navigate that space, and I could just say they, them. Um, I think I'm trying to decide whether she is somebody that I can trust, because I trust too quickly, gets me in trouble sometimes because I really don't know this person. Everything about them seems amazing and completely trustworthy, especially, right? She wanted to ask, and then she did ask, and then even kind of pursued further. So, where I'm at in my own thoughts just about that specific example is that I think I want to give it a little bit more time, get to know this person a little bit better, but potentially bringing them into confidence that, yes, I would prefer she, her, but I'm not asking you to, like, please don't sort of share that with everybody else yet. I'm not really out here. So, what I'm going to coach people to do is, when you don't know what to do, use they, them, which is what we do at roller derby for roughing, right? The default, even though that might not be somebody's preference, it is sort of the safest, least offensive way to address somebody, unless you know better if they have expressed a preference. So, living this out in the workplace. Thank you for listening. That is a lot of what's going on right now. I'm working really hard to try and take care of myself. I was getting a sore throat yesterday. I was off yesterday, spent most of the day at church. I've been doing a crap ton of household stuff, and then started to have that sore throat, feel sick. And so I thought I better rest a little bit, even though rest just meant working till 7 or 8 last night, and then starting working again today. All right. My life is notifying me and wants me back. Remember, if you have people who would benefit from having a listening ear, right, especially parents of gay, queer folks, LGBTQ folks, any loved ones, I would be happy to meet with them online, talk with them, do lots more listening than I am in this monologue format. Thanks.